What's going on? This is Ryan with Automatic Comics, and up next we are going to go over 5 key comics that are currently trending up. Stay tuned. Alright, so before we get started, please remember to hit that like button and hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. Again, I really appreciate all the likes, the comments, the subscriptions, everything. It has been great. Actually, I just picked the random winner for the Fantastic Four 53 giveaway. So I'm going to put the comment for that winner up here. So thank you to David Wong for your comment. I reached out to him and I'll be sending that book out to him soon. And yes, I do think it is a pretty good time to potentially be picking up some books, or at least to be putting books on your watch list, but not necessarily all books. And that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about today, because I recently put out that video where I said I've been watching the weekly Heritage comic auctions, and when I'm pricing out books for those, I see books that are trending up, books that are trending down, and I thought it might make a fun video. So I did a 5-book video on comics that are currently trending down, and now I've got 5 that are actually trending up. And so yes, not all books have turned down. The entire comic market doesn't move in the same direction all the time. And that's something we really saw last year during the comic boom, is that you would see different books, different segments of the market go up at different times of the year. They all tended to go up about the same amount, and then they've all turned and come back down for the most part, with a few exceptions. But they all seem to follow a very similar trend. It's just not all at the same time. And so right now, we've got 5 books I'm going to talk about here that are trending up. The question is, does that mean that they'll continue that uptrend, or they just haven't gotten to the point where they've corrected yet? I can't really say for sure on that, but generally right now, I'm looking to pick up books that are trending down, books that seem to have retreated some, not necessarily books that are up at their peaks like these. So let's get into this. Let's get into the first book here. This is Ghost Rider #1. This is the version of Ghost Rider that most of us know, not the one where he's the Western character riding around on a horse. But this is Ghost Rider #1, the first self-titled series for this character. His first appearance is in Marvel Spotlight #5, which I actually talked about in my recent top 10 video, that Marvel Spotlight #5 has been turning down, has been getting lower and lower prices recently, but Ghost Rider #1 keeps going up. And you can see that in this figure that I put up there for the 8.5. So I've got 3 grades up there, and I didn't really do percentages for this one because I thought it was more important to be able to see the trend and then just look at where the prices have been and where they are now. And so this is one of those things that's also kind of fun looking back at the 2020 prices, because you can see how affordable some of these books were. 2020, 8.5, just $426. Then in 2021, $852, and its current price going around $1,100. Now remember, there can be some grades that are acting a little different than others, but this is the general trends that I'm seeing across this book. Then with the 7.5 went from $346 to $584, and now at $820. And then the 5.5 was at $239, then last year at $449, and now at $480. So you can see all these grades, this book has continued to trend up, still having strong sales. And I had just talked about Ghost Rider 1 in my last top 10 videos. So you can see it is still having strong sales out there. So this is one that it may be tempting to try to buy into it, thinking it's going to keep going up, kind of have the FOMO on it, but I'd be a little cautious with it. All of these books I'm going to talk about today, I would probably be cautious with. If you are selling comics, probably a good time to sell these books. Maybe get some money to try to pick up some of those books that are dropping in price. But that's just one way that you could potentially use this information. All right, so now let's go on to #2. This was actually the book that caused me to decide to start making these videos, because I saw this and I was like, why is this book still going up? And it's just continued to have strong sales. And this is Daredevil #168. This is the first appearance of Elektra. And this is just from an incredible Frank Miller era of Daredevil. And when you just look at that chart, I mean, it started going up and then was level for a few years, and then it just turned up with the comic boom. Now, it didn't have a massive spike, and that's something that I think you can kind of see as a general trend with all of these, is none of them really had that huge, just straight up instant sales spike where everything just jumped up all at once. it is a definite departure from its normal trend. I mean, when you look at the history of this book, it is not a straight line once it reaches into that 2021 time frame. It does turn up a lot harder, but it's not an instant jump like we saw with a lot of other books. And so this one, it's just been trending up consistently for the last year and a half or so. And so with the 9.6, again, I looked at 3 grades for this one. The 9.6 in 2020, that book was going for $414. 2021, $840, and the current price about $1,120. So continued strong uptrends. Then in the 9.0, it was going for just $174. Then in 2021, $345, and then its current price $480. That's a big thing I've noticed with this book, is that this book for a while, it was, if you didn't have a 9.6, 9.8, 9.4, something like a high 9, the book really didn't have much value. But now we're seeing a lot of value in this book, even as you get into those, I call them upper mid grades, getting into the 8s and the lower 9s, especially because this is a relatively modern book. Not modern by any stretch, but a newer book. This isn't an older Silver Age book, anything like that. Then we've got the 8.0, and that one was going for just $134 in 2020, then jumped to $250 in 2021, and is now going for around $340. So I'm saying with this book, this is one that it has just gotten a lot stronger across a wide range of grades than it used to be in the past. And so it's a solid book. I don't really know what's driving this one up. I don't know if there's some speculation that because we're getting Daredevil, we're going to eventually get Elektra, if that's maybe what's doing it. But it's one of those things that makes me a little nervous because I don't really see anything that's going on with this character, but it has still been trending up and it hasn't turned back yet. It's actually the same thing with Ghost Rider. We haven't really had any news about that character, and another one that's just been continuing to trend up. All right, now number 3, this is one of my favorite books right now. I've got a few copies of this one, book that I just got back in an 8.5 from a recent CGC submission. This is X-Men number 9. This is the first Avengers versus X-Men, or Avengers meeting X-Men, however you want to phrase that. Now, this one, you don't get quite as many sales of this book because those last 2, those are Bronze Age books. You get a lot more copies of those out there, and so you tend to have a little more defined lines with them. This one, it's a little wavier. You've got these bigger ups and downs that you have, but you can still see that the general trend has been up with this book. Now, it has definitely flattened out a little more than some of the other ones, and so it's probably, in general, this one is a little more like going up, and it's maybe either reaching that peak or leveling off, maybe getting ready to turn down. I can't say for sure. But you can see that in the prices across these years. So we've got the 8.5 that in 2020 was going for $1,022, 2021 at $1,762, and the current price just a little higher at $1,800. Then you've got the 6.5, which is going for just $410 back in 2020. In 2021, just about doubled in price to $816, and it's currently at $870. Again, up a little bit, but not as big of a jump as it had been. Then the last grade I'm talking about here is the 4.5, which was at $272 in 2020, jumped up, again, about double to $504, and it's currently at about $550. And so you can see all these books, again, trending up, but maybe starting to level off a little bit more. I think one of the big issues right now with X-Men is we don't know what's going on with these characters in the future of the MCU. Now, again, I've said this before, the MCU isn't everything that drives value in books, but it does have a pretty significant impact. And so strong Silver Age keys tend to trend up over time. It's just that they tend to accelerate when you have some type of potential speculation in the MCU. But I really like this book. I think the cover is great. I think this is also the first appearance of Lucifer, so that you have that other little minor key fact to it. But X-Men books, I think even if they do start to turn down, those are ones that I do really like. I think you should be going after. But again, most of these books on this list, if they are continuing to trend up, I would be wary, just a little cautious with them, because we've seen so many other books turn down that it's just very likely that it might happen with these two. Because, for example, when I'm pricing out books and I'm identifying ones that have trends up or trending down, I find a lot more of the trending down than the trending up right now. The trending up are a little more few and far between. But all right, so now let's go to number 4. We've got a DC book here. This is another one of my favorite books, and this is Batman number 251, classic Neil Adams Joker cover. And this is one that I'm not really surprised we're just seeing a constant trend up. It did accelerate a little bit with the comic boom, but this is one of those books that it's just one of the most in-demand Joker covers out there. It is an iconic cover by an iconic artist, and it's just been slowly trending up over time. It's a consistent, solid book to own. And that's why it's also not a book that I think will really probably turn down much. I mean, you're going to have, those little fluctuations. You can see those little waves in the chart there, but this is a book that just generally trends up over time. So I looked at 3 grades again. The 9.4, which super high grade, wish I would have bought one of these back in 2020, was $1,878. Then in 2021, went up to $2,442, and the current price around $3,450. Then you've got the 7.5, which was $497 in 2020, jumped to $682 in 2021, and is now going for around $850. And lastly, the 5.0 was at $244 in 2020, then went up to $382 last year, and is currently around $520. So this is also a book that when you're getting down to those lower grades, it used to be a pretty affordable book to go after, and it's getting more expensive. It is getting pricier in those lower grades, getting to that $100 a point type pricing. And so it's becoming an expensive book. It is, again, a book that most Batman collectors are going to want to have at least one copy. I have a few copies of this one, and so I think it's just a great book. And this isn't, like I said, this isn't one that I think is likely going to take some type of big downturn. It might dip a little based on the economy, anything like that, but this is a general solid key, not one that moves based on speculation. All right, now the last book on here, got an Amazing Spider-Man book. This is Amazing Spider-Man number 31. First appearance of Gwen Stacey is the big thing, also the first appearance of Harry Osborn, and this book has just taken off, and it has in some grades continued up, and in other grades has really leveled off. It just depends on the grade right now. So I can't say if that means that it's maybe making its transition to either flattening out or turning down, but there are some grades that are still doing that trend up, but some are definitely flattening out. And you can see that in the prices that I've got here. So the 7.5, definitely one that's still been trending up. In 2020, just $580. 2021, average was $1,299, and the current price, $1,700. This has become a very expensive key book for Amazing Spider-Man, and I think just the big part of that is the popularity of Spider-Gwen, and that this is Gwen Stacy, who the character is originally based on. And so there was a lag, there was a delay, I feel like, in that connection between this book and Spider-Gwen, but I think it's really started happening, which is what drove the prices of this book. Then you've got the 5.5. 2020, that book was going for just $314, almost doubled to 2021 for $608, and is currently at about $610. So it's basically flat. This is one of the grades where I've started to see it flatten out, and so that's definitely a thing that is happening with this book, but it hasn't made some big downturn that I have seen yet. Then the last one we've got here is the 4.0. 2020, just $215, and then in 2021, again, more than doubled to $454, and it's now up just a little bit more, up about 5% more to $475. So again, a grade where it is relatively flat now. So this is a book that you could either say it's a good time to be cautious with it because maybe it's going to turn back down, or it's a good time to at least just sit there and watch. Put it on a watch list. This is a book that you want to add. See if it does just stay at this level for a while, or if it does start to retreat before you make your decision if you want to pick this one up. All right, so those are the 5 key comics that have currently been trending up. Some of them on just a constant upward trend right now, others maybe flattening out a little bit depending on the grade. Hope you found this useful, maybe help you make some decisions on what books maybe to start going after or avoid right now based on these last couple of videos. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you'd like to see more content like this. I've got more videos over here if you'd like to watch some of my other videos, and the subscription button right here. If you'd like to subscribe to the channel, I'd really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next video.